just. Oh,
we're live. You go and change your lighting then. Go and change your light. Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Better Way of Life. It's Friday morning, and Marianne's changing her lighting. And there we go. Listen.
No drama llama.
No drama llama. The heat is on LinkedIn. It's all been kicking off on LinkedIn this week, has it not? Wow. There are some incredibly ill-educated people out there. I'm just going to start off by saying that.
That was a very polite way of putting it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if for anyone that hasn't seen some of the conversations that have been going on LinkedIn this week, please do go and check it out. I did a poll midweek about the fact that my son, he has ADHD and autism, and struggles sometimes to like his breakfast in the morning. He likes to get into little routines, then he leaves those routines. He struggles with how something is. If I use like jam that's got bits in it, he doesn't particularly like that. He likes his jam to have nothing but jam, and things like that. And some of the comments have been unbelievable in response to that, saying basically, oh, tell your kid to shut up and eat it, which, come on, guys, we're not Neanderthals anymore. This isn't the dark ages. Get with the program.
It feels, I was saying to someone the other day, it feels as if my son got told off at school the other day, and I get that school have to have rules and stuff, but he took a water pistol into school and a foam football, and anybody would have thought it was an actual gun and a knife or something. And I get it, but I just couldn't help but think he's year 7, and it's like these kids are having fun sucked out of them as well. So it feels like in many respects we've gone really far forward with things. But someone said to me yesterday, it's like we've got everything now has been put down to a process. It needs to go into a process. So like his behaviour, I tried to speak to the school, and I just said, can I just speak to someone just to tell you what's going on for him? And despite it, they still want to put him on to report because they said they'll think it would be helpful. And I thought it won't be helpful for him at all, because I know exactly how he'll feel. He will see that as an attack on him, and it will have a negative effect. But because that's the process they use and it works for others, so now they have to try it, and it will go wrong, and then you know how it goes.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it feels sad in many respects. I think that there's a lot of, and I think you've just summed it up there, and I spoke to you earlier about this. There seems to be a lot of this works, therefore we ought to all do this or all do that. And I'm like, but we're not machines. We're like humans with feelings, and that's exactly it. It should be that we get educated about whatever it is, and then we work with the person, whoever they are, whether they're 1, 2, 100, whatever. I get off my soapbox now.
No, let's stay on the soapbox, but let's bring our guest today, Olivia, in to join the soapbox as well. Olivia, thanks for joining us.
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
thanks for having me.
That's all right. Thank you for joining us. Tell us, or tell the people, because we already know you, a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Olivia Turner. I am the director and also an educator from Avant Learning. So my primary focus is clinical and social care education, and I have quite extensive experience in supporting internationally and UK educated nurses to come onto the UK NMC register and work in the UK as a nurse. And so my focus is really quality clinical education for people. And I've been working independently for the last 2 years. So it's great because it means I can work with a really wide range of people and focus on the client, which is very important.
So education's important to you, right?
Very much so.
You see education as, part of the way forward. I mean, you probably just heard the conversation that I just had, and I stepped into it this morning just to say we just need more education in this whole arena, because clearly some of these comments that are coming back show a lack of education and awareness around certain sensory differences between people. I mean, can you imagine if you were talking to medical staff and whatever, and you say, oh well, neurodivergence doesn't exist. It's just when you get people through the door who are neurodivergent, they're just being fussy. Just tell them to shut up, go away.
I unfortunately have heard things said in my time that personally I don't agree with, and I think it's very much about each of us as individuals. We're all different, and whether we have a label for that or not, or some diagnosis or something we officially need support with, I think that every person should be treated as an individual, especially with education where we are caring for others. It's very, very important. And I think there has been, and I think we are moving forwards with this, but I think in the past, because I've worked in health and social care for 26 years, we have moved on massively, but we seem to have gone a wee bit backwards in the last few years. And there are fairly justifiable reasons for that, with the old pandemic and everything. But we need to now start to move forwards again and look at that quality education with each person as an individual. And we cannot just say, you don't fit the box, therefore we can't help you. We have to try and think about people who have additional learning needs, different learning needs. I know myself, I don't have any official diagnosis of ADHD or dyslexia, but it runs heavily through my family. And I would say that I probably would have a diagnosis of ADHD if I pursued it. For me, it's not something that's going to be productive because I'm 43 and that's for me, that's my personal opinion. But I would always encourage other people to take up any additional support that they can get. And I think as educators, within the health and social care sector, I've had people say to me in the past, well, why do you need to think about accessibility for your training? You're training nurses. Surely nurses aren't disabled.
Wow.
And that is not... Wow. I've had that said to me a number of times. That is not... There's no badness in that. That's just a lack of awareness. And I myself have disabilities of a physical variety. I am a disabled nurse. I don't particularly talk about it very much. But I am. So it's insulting to me for someone to say that. And I'm not going to say that to them. I will diplomatically explain that nurses and healthcare staff have different needs. Shocking. Shocking.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking two things. I did teach somebody who was visually impaired. Actually, she was I can't remember what it was she had, but she that was when I was teaching at the college for blind and visually impaired students. So yeah, she went on and had a great career. But it's interesting. I've just been supporting. I don't know how you say his surname, Michael Lee. I think that's how you say his surname. Who's got an amazing program for ADHD, and it's actually about educating, but completely different. Insight program, it's called. So he's got me in to help write a train the trainer program, so that every single person that delivers that program is that he can make sure that he's assessed their ability to be able to do it. But the interesting about that thing about all that is, and it goes into what you were saying, Graham, is that this is about educating people, but not bias. This is about everything that he's got in there. It opened my mind, actually, for somebody that even knows a lot about this. It opened my mind, but also about how, particularly, I'm thinking that you're teaching students from abroad as well, Olivia, aren't you? I'm assuming, which is different cultures as well. This brings in when we've got different
background,
different cultures, and that's the interesting thing is with his Insight program, which I would encourage anybody to do it if they get a chance, is it looks at how different countries, different continents, different cultures, how they look at specifically this is ADHD, and it really opens your mind as to that when you get other disability or other diseases, disabilities, that kind of thing, we can say, yes, we've done this test and it's that. And that's where one of the issues is, and that's where one of the issues comes in, that you do have comments like that, Graham, that you've had. And there's other ones I've got into this morning with people where they're not educated. And that actually, if people were educated properly, not, like I said, not biased, not off TikTok and not off Instagram, whatever, actually people being educated to be able to decide whether they want medication or not, as the case may be. And it's not about saying medication's bad, good. You know, I've got to look now at going on to HRT. And I've had various people saying, you don't want to pump that stuff into you. Well, if my body hasn't got, but if my body hasn't got the thing that it needs, but actually what was really interesting that Michael was saying about was that actually this is about people fault themselves, parents. I do with my children, and I'm sure each of you do. But no, actually the people that are at fault are those that are giving false information out there or inaccurate. You shouldn't have to have a pharmaceutical background or a science degree to be able to know what it is. It should be, these are the things that are in your food, in medication or whatever. And then we make the decisions about whether we want to or not. Because there's a lot of people not having things because of fear mongering or having them because of fear mongering. And I just think it's really interesting when we think about the cultural side of it. And I'm sure you see that with nursing. How massive impact.
Yeah, no, my classroom has to be inclusive. It has to be. And it has to be inclusive to UK return to practice nurses and internationally educated nurses, not just, and there's a lot of people who actually don't realise that, and that has been a change in the last few years, that UK return to practice can opt to do the test of competence, and it's exactly the same exam. So I must then think about, and I'm not perfect, I'm learning every single day, but I listen to feedback and I think, okay, right, how can I improve this? How can I make it more inclusive? And I'm never going to suit everybody. What I do will not suit everybody, and that's okay, because you were talking about choice there. It's all about choice. None of us are forced to do anything, but I have to make that classroom inclusive. And I have had to learn I ask people about their culture. Tell me about your culture. Is there anything I need to remember? Is there anything that's really important to you? And that's why it's really important to me to make sure that people come in and feel at ease very, very quickly, because then they learn. Mariannne, you know yourself, and Graham, I know you do some teaching as well. You know that if somebody is relaxed, they're going to take in more. So by being inclusive, I make them feel welcomed and considered and seen, and they then know, okay, I can relax, I can take it down a notch. So it's really important.
I think it's one of the biggest. Whenever I'm teaching, when I'm teaching people to teach, you'll get many people that will say, oh, I know my stuff, or actually, no, the people that I do teach generally are open to it. And I reassure them at the beginning, look, I know that you've been teaching a long time, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's the people that refuse to think that they should learn how to, because one of the biggest things of people that are very good at teaching is exactly what you said. I would say the whole idea of perfect, there isn't one, but actually what you do is perfect, because you are making it so that people feel comfortable, because you can know everything there is to know about anything, of which you can't always know everything. But if you if you're not approachable and people don't feel safe to learn, they're not going to. Literally, those barriers will come up, and that's it. And all that stuff is irrelevant. I'm not the most intelligent person. I'm not the most qualified. I am at what I do, but actually people will say to me, and they do, that they've been in loads of different learning environments, but they've said, I just felt really safe with you.
But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing about educators who are really great educators. educators who are really great educators don't take a position of, I know everything and I'm now going to tell you everything.
That's
Educators,
dangerous. That is the dangerous way to think. I know everything, because nobody does. Sorry, Graham, to cut you off there, but I agree.
yeah,
Right,
but that's
yeah.
unfortunately what we see, though, isn't it? You know, and unfortunately, I think we're seeing, to some extent, I think we're seeing more of that, and we're seeing that even in big narratives, you know, across the world. Look what's going on in America at the moment, right? We're seeing this at, you know, top level with politicians dictating, right? Because this is dictating as opposed to working through, right? And that requires people to look outwards, not inwards. You know, and I think we struggle with it. I know I blew your brains yesterday, Olivia, with my poll on LinkedIn, which
You're a
just
wee rascal.
which asked for people that haven't seen it, which just in a way it's almost the perfect poll, because it asked people not to vote on this poll, and then I gave options of will they vote, yes, no, maybe, and people were voting. And of course, for anyone that, you know, wants to put their brain into gear, if you vote for any of those options, then you voted, and I've asked you not to vote. But the reason I do these things is to get people to think about what they are doing, right? Because the trouble is, half the time people just respond to stuff now, as opposed to actually question and say, but why am I doing this? And great education for me goes both ways. It should be to create this safe environment where people question, and whatever it is that you're putting in front of people as potential fact, to get them to question, but not only question in the right way, to analyze and to go through, well, where does that come from? How did you draw that conclusion? What's the basis of this argument? Where did this knowledge come from in the first place, etc.? Oh, there's the basis of it.
I think we're definitely losing that art. I was going to say, I don't know if we want to call it an art skill, whatever it is, because so often, like you've talked about it before, when people are shut down, if you don't agree with them, people shut you down. Then you've got armies of people that will shut you down. Then you've got, like this morning, I was having a conversation with somebody, and I didn't agree with what I said to them was, I partly agree with this bit, but actually I think by generalizing that all people should do this, you can't, you know, to put a blanket approach. But again, it was what I watched was me being almost vilified for having that point of view. And it wasn't something that was you know, you can have sort of like people joke, or I joke about the fact that I'm never wrong. But I say that because actually, if I speak up about something, I will have concrete sort of evidence, if you see what I mean. So on the times I do speak up, because there are some things that are a non-negotiable sort of thing. But when you're talking about feelingsy type thing, you can't tell somebody else how to feel. But it does seem now as if there's no etiquette, or very little etiquette out there on, you know, if you've got an opinion and people don't agree. And it seems now it's hard now to actually have conversations that are to any depth of anything. As I said to you, Graham, there just seems to be, and that's not because I'm LinkedIn police, because I'm not. It is just very sad now that I don't seem to go through LinkedIn as much now and actually learn. I want to learn when I'm on.
Well, perhaps I can get both of yours opinion on this. So, as educators, so my poll this morning was, how do you question, which really tries to kind of get to the heart of education as well, right? Because I say there are those who question with the intent to educate but also learn, or there are those that question because they believe they know and they don't want to listen to anyone else, right? So, you know, they're going to question you because you don't believe what they know, right? And so far, 97% of people, when I ask a question, when you ask a question, are you open to learning? 97% of people said yes. But I think this was a great point by Rob Whitton, who's the centre director at the CEG on-campus centres at the University of Sunderland. Great university. I went there. Said, will anyone answer no? Even those we think are closed to learning will answer yes. Therein lies the perception gap that can come with a lack of self-awareness. I think that's quite an interesting. Answer.
I do on my teacher training.
Self-awareness is huge. Sorry, carry on.
No. On my teacher training, I very early on say to people, because I get them to look at their own education as well, because I think it's a really important thing if you look back at your experience with learning, and it's quite a light bulb moment for a lot of people. And I say to them, if you look back at any learning that you've done, think about, there's usually people fall into that they want to show off what they know, or they want to share what they know. And I think that probably sums up that. And it's funny because the best teachers are often the ones that want to share what they know, and the ones that want to show off what they know probably know more. Maybe they might have, but it's about, listen to me. And my degree was it. I used to sit there and feel like I walked in 5 minutes late, missed the beginning, and never really got going with it all. But it was because they would show off what they know. If they bamboozled you, they felt they'd done their job well, because they knew more than you.
Yeah, but that's a power thing, isn't it, as well?
Horrible.
And I mean, ultimately, like, I actually learn from my learners. And that's like, I've actually developed as a professional and as a person from the people that I've worked with. And I was almost an accidental educator. And I know, Mariannne, you talk a lot about, accidental educators, and your course is very good for people. And I will, like I say, it's on my bucket list. I will be attending. So I'm lucky because although I was an accidental educator, I have worked with lots and lots and lots of people who have given me lots of feedback and support and advice and all of that. And I've also been then very proactive about my own education and my own professional development, because I returned to education at 30 after leaving school at 16 with 2 GCSEs. So I'm proud of that. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I left school at 16 with 2 GCSEs, went straight into the world of work, had a family quite young, and then waited till I was 30 and went and did an access course. And that was like the biggest hurdle for me. And doing my maths GCSE, I cried after every single class. My tutor was amazing and fantastic. And then I went to university again, brilliant experience. But I've taken all that experience and always try and place myself in the learner's shoes. And learn from them. So it's a collaboration rather than me standing telling them stuff. I want it to be interactive, and I want to hear their opinions. And I'm not always right. And sometimes learners can change my perspective. And I think that's pretty special, actually. So I count myself as very lucky. But I do think there's a lot of educators out there who have fallen into it and maybe haven't had the training and support that they need to do their jobs to the best of their ability. And then that's when training becomes tick box. It's not easy. It's not easy.
I mean, I know that you, regardless of the fact, well, I say you know me. I mean, you only know me through, LinkedIn. What I mean is that you've got no reason to back up what I say, but that it does concern me that the people that I do see are the people that are really open to, I need to, I want to learn, and that they're often really, really good anyway. The people that I'm concerned about are the people that are out there that say, why would I need to? Why would I need to? And I do find it a little bit, actually very hypocritical that people are particularly people that are self-employed, I'm going to say this, so they've got their own businesses, because people that are employed, it's often out of their hands, that won't invest in themselves. So they won't invest in themselves to actually get a qualification. So yes, I'm sure they do a lot of the stuff great, but there's a lot of stuff that, how can you know that you know stuff if you don't actually know that you know it? But they're doing what they're doing. But they're charging people a lot of money, so often more than it actually costs to do my course in one day. So 3 days, they will be charging somebody that much. And I'm like, so you want them to pay you to educate them, but you won't pay somebody else to make sure that you're educated to a level that shows a standard. And I know we joke about the qualification snob bit, but actually I'm proud of the qualifications I've got, because they're a mark, the same as yours, that I've achieved that level. And I will never be ashamed of that, because I think
you should be proud.
But I think a lot of people, when they say, now I say to people, when they say I shouldn't have to get a qualification, and I say, but why shouldn't you? Why shouldn't? What's making you fearful? If you do what you do well, surely you want that badge. And I actually think it's because people are fearful. And if it's because they're fearful of that, many people say, oh, but I struggle to learn in a traditional way. Then find somebody that teaches you. Don't not do it. Find someone that teaches you in an inclusive way, as you were saying. Not learning isn't, because you struggle to learn, isn't a reason not to.
I've said that to you before, haven't I? I've said it is one of the reasons I believe that so many people shy away in adulthood from continuing their education, is because they potentially had a bad experience of education when they were younger, and they now think, hang on a minute, I've got to this position here where I'm now educating, and people are talking to me about getting educated. Well, I didn't like education, so why should I go back into that route? And look, I've managed to get here without that. That failed me. So I can understand it.
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean
doesn't
mean to say it's right.
What
I was terrified going back into education. I was on the verge of a panic attack for nearly all my classes for probably 3 months. And it's hard, but I couldn't further myself if I didn't do it. And it's the same for I continue with education as an educator because I want to keep up to date.
That's my concern.
It just is a no-brainer to me.
That's my concern and that's why I wrote the program I wrote. Because of course, if I ask on LinkedIn to people as trainers, what do you do to make sure that you're up to date with your CPD? I don't just mean the subject they're teaching. I'm meaning actual how you teach. Radio silence, pretty much. Those that do, people like you I hear from, but the other people apparently don't read that, and they don't. And I don't believe it, because you should. It's not just about staying up to date with your subject. It's actually about making sure that you're up to date with how you teach. So one of the biggest ones is the bit about people that qualified a long time ago knowing about equality and diversity and inclusivity. Because I've heard trainers say, I can't be dealing with people that are this or that. Oh, these people that are late, it's rude. I'm not letting them in after 5 minutes.
Well, this goes right back to the beginning of the conversation, doesn't it? Right? When I said on that post, when people are saying to me, we don't need to understand whether your child's got ADHD or not, right? Basically, tell your child to shut up and just eat whatever, right? That comes from a place that we are not accepting as a society, as in general now, right? That is society some years ago, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, if you don't stay in this education system where it's trying to not only educate you in terms of latest knowledge, but best practice and society, where society is going as well, you'll fall behind in all of that, because you will not understand. You'll have less awareness, you'll have less understanding, you'll have less empathy with anybody that you're going to come across because you just will live in your own little bubble.
But if you don't have to do that, I mean, the scary thing is I spoke to somebody earlier on who will be coming onto the podcast. So from a quite a big company who was a teacher. So she wants all of her trainers to be educated. Yes. Who actually said that she struggled to get into L&D and was told that she would never get into L&D because she'd been a teacher, which is shocking. So had to go away, had educated herself, and then found out that virtually, well, lots of the people she's seeing that are in L&D positions have no training or teaching qualifications, which worries me a lot, because of course then what happens is when it comes to them making sure that the people that are trainers or educators are qualified or trained, they go, oh, you don't need that, because they don't realise. So then the concern of that, the massive ripple effect, it's massive. Like she went in, and she'll say when she comes in, I think, as you said to me, if you're somebody that's open to be educated, you take on board that it's important for legal reasons or all sorts of things. So those people that aren't, it really concerns me that, as you said, Graham, you can then walk around with these biases and being prejudiced. That's not okay. It's literally not okay.
Do you see that, Olivia? Yeah. Sometimes when you're training people, sometimes people say, well, but I'm a real people person, and people love me, and my bedside manner's fantastic, and I get on so well with people or whatever. But it's not fully about that. You still need to be compliant, and you still need to understand.
You need, yeah, I know you do, and I mean that's when I've kind of I as I say was an not accidental educator, but I was encouraged to go and do a train the trainer. Okay, and not all train the trainers are created equal, as we all are aware. Some go into far more depth about the teaching side, and I was expected essentially just to hit the ground running. And I basically said, no, I'm not teaching until I feel confident. But there's a lot of organizations out there who will put somebody through a train the trainer and then think that they're just instantly ready to train. But actually, these people might need more support. Those trainers can become incredible, but they might have some of the aspects which will make them a great trainer, and they have to want to do it. People should not be forced into moving and handling train the trainer, or first aid train the trainer, or whatever train the trainer it is. People should be encouraged if they want to go down the education route and the training route, but they should also then, on the other side of that course, have the support, the resources and the time to then put that into practice, because practice makes not necessarily perfect, but practice definitely makes things better. So I've seen a range of, and I've supported trainers, out on the ground and given them, support over the phone or in a meeting, or, nobody is just instantly good at something, and teaching is exactly the same. It's taken me a long time to get to the stage where I feel super confident and I'm in the groove, but that's taken me a long time, and I have specialized in the areas where they align with my values, and they also are within my specialist topics, and I'm very passionate about them as well. So I think that there's no easy answer to all this, but we do have a lot of educators out there who have maybe gone and done an exam themselves and think that they can then go and be a trainer. And look, I'm not saying they can't, but there's a lot of people who maybe are running before they can walk. And that I know that myself years ago, when I started teaching full time, I was terrified every single day. It hopefully never showed, but it was terrifying. And I was lucky because I had a support team of very experienced educators around me, but not everyone's got that. If you've got a moving and handling trainer in a care home and they're the only trainer, that's tough. That's hard. And if they're well supported, it makes it easier.
Thank you, Olivia. That's what you were saying, Graham, about the imposter syndrome. I think that to me, if you've been, when I first started teaching, I wasn't very good at all. And it was only when I started teaching people to teach that the penny dropped, that all the psychology, that I was like, what, you've got all this, you know this stuff. But this imposter syndrome, I think, does come about because actually, like I said, I don't have it because I won't say yes to doing something if I don't feel ready. I will make sure that I've gone and watched. So first aid training, I never said yes to any first aid training until I'd gone out and watched Dave Kuma, so who's amazing at it. So I got him to do first aid one-to-one with me, and then I went out and watched him because I said I cannot go out there and teach it until I feel confident. How can I make people feel confident if I don't even feel it? So I put a lot of work into making sure that I showed up. I've taught sixth formers, and they will, if they get a whiff of you not understanding something, they will rip you apart as well.
Well, it's a tough, that's why I only have ever worked with adults. So I would imagine that sixth formers would be,
well, year 10 girls
interesting to work with.
Yeah, it's but the thing is though, now I wouldn't, I'm not arrogant, but I do know what I know, and I'm happy to say what I don't know. And when I say what I know, and I was teaching social work educators last week or the week before, and they said, gosh, you really helped us even feel more confident and to go away and question things that we're told we have to do that we didn't really feel comfortable about, not as social workers, but as educators, because other people are telling them what to do who are not educated or equipped to make those decisions. So actually being educated, they said now we feel more equipped and more confident, and I think it was to do what we do with intention. So I think that a lot of the time these accidental or incidental trainers or educators are really, really good, but because they've fallen into it, they don't have that, what was the word I used? You can go away and give it some have some clout behind what you're saying, that you've actually got something, you've got some theory or whatever to be able to say, this is how it should be done.
But I think it's a dangerous place from when you come through into training from a position of feeling like the imposter, and you then learn to be an educator over a period of time. It can be quite a dangerous place to go if you don't have the right support system around you and the right resources around you to pick you up every time you do it wrong or help you as you get stuck. You could just carry on bumbling along for forever and a day.
And that has a knock-on effect then on the services that are provided, doesn't it?
Huge, like huge. I mean, I identified with Graham the other week, and the penny suddenly dropped with me that you know, I'm not going to lie, it's difficult getting work for me because people don't think they need it. I won't back down, and I will still keep trying. But one of the things I said to Graham was, who's supporting the people in their roles as trainers? Because often the training manager hasn't got a training background, and which is now something I'm going to be offering, which is to support the trainers, because I don't believe a lot get it. Because I know that, because when they come on my training, the questions they ask me, I'm like, how come you're asking me these questions? They're way over and above what's on the course, and it's fine, I can help them. But if they haven't asked me, who are they asking? They don't have anyone.
I think just saying very quickly, I mean, that's one of the things we've been working on with you, Mariannne, which is putting together this support program. So how you deliver AET is very different from a lot of the ways that AET is delivered. So if you want to look for a kind of USP and a differential and whatever, it's, you know, we've now got a program where you're not just delivering it, there is full support all the way through it, and continued support afterwards as well. And that's the important bit, right? That is completely different. I mean, you alluded to it earlier, Olivia, from someone just going and sitting in front of a computer doing a tick box exercise and then saying, right, you've now done that qualification.
And they can.
But
Yeah.
But have you actually supported that trainer in getting their confidence up to the next level? No,
To be ready. Yeah, to be ready. Like you said, as you said, Olivia, you were scared, because it is scary. And I think a lot of people, because so many people now are doing it on e-learning, which is fine. Well, it's not fine. You tick the box, but that's only the start. That literally, as you said, is only the start. I did a teaching English as a foreign language course, and I did that via e-learning. And actually, I went to do the assignments, and I thought I can't do them because I hadn't actually learned from a teacher, and I am a teacher.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually learned.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it quite short.
This is quite interesting. I looked at some e-learning recently for social care home e-learning, and I've seen lots of e-learning in my time. And I went through it to see if I could do something for a laugh. And the wording was so confusing. I struggled. And you just think, well, then if that's what's out there, no wonder people aren't taking this in. With the e-learning,
exactly.
It's scary.
But a lot of this comes down to the wording and the assessment. And Graham knows my course I've just put onto an e-platform, which has been an interesting process. Let's put it like that. And I've just done my first marking of it, and it took a long time of me going to and froing with Highfield to get the wording right, to the point that the guy that was helping me, I said, if you read this, how would you read it? Because you have to make sure that when that question you're asking, it's reliable, as in, if you answered it. So if I've taught everybody and I've taught them correctly, would everybody get the question correct based on their knowledge rather than the way that it was worded? And that is one of the big things with e-learning, is that
it's because a lot of the time when these e-learning courses are being built, they're being built by technologists or people that know systems, and they're looking at it and go, oh, that looks pretty. I think that looks right. I think I can shorten that to that. But it might not actually make sense.
Or people that have got a training business that don't necessarily have an education background, or people that are subject specialists. But the number of people I've spoken to, and like Michael said, that's why he got me in to help with this assist with the trainer, because he said, he said, I was scared before I sat in front of you, because he said, I knew that you were going to, and we did. We butted heads a few times, but he said, you do know what you're talking about. And I said, I do when it comes to that. And I'm not arrogant, but I do know how to put together courses. So yeah, it is scary, and that's scary, like you said, and that's just probably one of a few courses of millions that are out there.
Yeah. I think we're trying to with e-learning. My issue with e-learning is I have no issues with e-learning as a
supplement,
a supportive tool alongside other training. But some e-learning is they're trying to cover, legislation all over the UK, which is completely different. Northern Ireland's legislation is different again. It has similarities, and then we've got different settings, so residential, nursing homes, which all have different regulatory aspects. So it's not one size fits all. And I do know there's e-learning platforms out there that are very good at that, very good at making sure that it is relevant for each part of the UK. But I think that it's just education has become diluted by e-learning, and it should be used in addition, not instead of, in my opinion.
Totally agree. On that note, because we said we were going to finish fairly early today, and thank you for your contribution.
Thank you so much.
I have one last quick question for you, but I think the thing to think about there, folks, is would you have brain surgery from someone that did e-learning on brain surgery?
I'd say no. But then probably, with the waiting list in the NHS, who knows?
Who knows?
I'm joking.
Olivia, thank you so much for your time today. Just to finish,
a pleasure.
Who are you looking to speak to out there if people are watching this on LinkedIn, for example?
Okay, so I'm doing a collaboration with a lot of different organizations, and I've got people from all industries coming towards me at the minute. But my main focus at the minute is OSCE training, so independent nurses who are wanting to register, either re-register with the NMC or to register with the NMC for the first time, or anyone looking for bespoke clinical or social care education. Thank
There you
you.
go. If that's you, this is Olivia. Say hi.
Who's very good at what she does and very passionate,
Thank
and
you.
puts the effort in.
Yeah, and that's really important. Thank you to Olivia today. Thank you to Mariannne, and thank you to you for bothering to spend the time to listen to this. I know it's hard, isn't it? There's so many other things on the social medias and everything that you'd love to go and look at, you know, like people posting pictures of their dog and their cat and telling you, you know, that they've got the wrong color lipstick on today. But thank you for taking time to listen to an important conversation with some actual thinking going on in it. We appreciate that greatly. We will be back same time, same place next week with more of the same. But until then, bye for now.